over. Euphoria is over. Hey guys, what's up? It's imuRgency and welcome back to my channel. It's a very sad day today. Today we're doing the final episode breakdown for Euphoria Season 2, Episode 8. The finale. And I have to say, this was a pretty solid finale. Of course, there were things that it left out, didn't really mention, and that we're gonna have to wait for more information on in Season 3. But for this episode, Season 2, Episode 8, so much went down. So much actually went down, and we need to talk about it. And really, we're gonna try and cover as much as possible. The tragedy that struck for Fez and ASHTRAY, RIP. The Caddy and Massey brawl that we have been waiting for. The stuff that went on with Nate and his dad, as well as Rue's growth and development. And I guess Elliot's song, because that ended up taking way too much time of the episode. And then after a quick recap, we're gonna do a quick review of the season as a whole, since we have everything now. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video so that you don't miss a single bit of it. With that said, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we do episode breakdowns, show reviews, commentary, pop culture, all of that, week to week. So if that's interesting to you and you don't want to miss out, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Also, make sure you follow me on my socials at imuRgency while you're at it, because TikTok, Instagram, all that. But let's get into this episode. So like I said, this season covers a lot, and first thing we're going to talk about is arguably the most sad thing that happens this episode, and that is Fez. We pick up where we left off, sort of getting explanation as to why Fez didn't show up to the play, and it's because there was a sting operation by Faye's boyfriend to try and imprison Fez for murdering Mouse. And we finally get confirmation that Faye is on the side, or at least feels sympathetic towards Fez, because she ends up dropping a glass, dropping it down and being like, shh, don't say nothing, don't say nothing. This is a sting. You being set up right now. She doesn't say all that, but the eyes and the face say it all. So she does tip off Fez, which is good on her part and her character, but she does it at literally the last second possible, which ultimately causes the chain of events that go on. Where Fez is trying to play it cool and Faye is trying to, I guess, twist the narrative and be like, wait, it's not Fez who killed Mouse, it was Lori. Lori, remember? By this point, y'all know how I feel about Faye and just her lines. It's safe to say that I got a good chuckle out of that. But they're trying to de-escalate the situation. And ASHTRAY. Bestie, what were you doing? What were you doing, Ash? In his usual fashion this season, he goes from 0 to 1,000 and takes that knife he was hiding in his hand and stabs it clean into Mr. Faye's boyfriend's neck. And from that point on, things just evolve because we just see things get more and more violent for Ash. And it really makes you wonder, like, why is he doing all this? Like, why did he not only kill Faye's boyfriend, but then go as far as to, like, not listen to Fez and try and take on a whole SWAT team by himself? And I really didn't understand why that is. And it wasn't until later that I sort of realized from some of y'all's comments in the little after show that I did over on my Discord server, check out my Discord server, where y'all were saying that like ASHTRAY is like a product of his environment in the sense that he only knows how to survive. So whenever his way of life is threatened or whenever Fez is threatened, he just automatically goes into this fight or flight mode. And 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be fight. He literally just does the most and ends up getting executed. We have to say executed because the way that they did that, the way that they took out that child, yeah, that was brutal. And having Fez see all that, he's gonna have trauma. He's gonna have long-lasting trauma. Like season 3, Fez is going to be messed up. But also, Fez is likely going to be in prison. Because he gets caught, Faye gets caught, and it's likely that Fez is going to jail. So I really don't know how that's going to work. With some other things that go on this episode, I was sort of joking in the pre-show live for this episode what my thoughts were for what could be possibly special episodes in the interim. I'll get into that later. But transitioning back to the play, we pick up Cassie, mad, fuming, fogging up the windows, just staring. And there's this amazing scene of like where Rue turns around and sees Cassie just like huffing and puffing, and she's like, ooh, that's none of my business, and turns back around. And Rue's facial expression, top tier, literally top tier. But Cassie is fed up. Cassie's done. She's walking down the aisle being like, click, 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 making a whole scene and basically tries to derail Lexi's play. And like I said in my last video, if you haven't seen my video about why do we love to hate flawed characters, you should go check that out. But Cassie's actions are morally ambiguous because on one hand, yes, she's in the right because she did not consent to have her business aired out like this, especially with that carousel scene. But on the other hand, she's really taking her sister's one moment to shine, like the one moment that she has to herself, not in Cassie's shadow. Cassie's really trying to not let her have that and be the star of the show by making a scene and calling Lexi out publicly as well for it. Like the whole speech that she gives where she's in her like Wendy Williams era being like, clap if Lexi had a hard life. Yeah, clap it up for her. Like, no, it really wasn't giving. And then she really just goes off the rails declaring herself a villain, which like, to who? Who are you threatening? To who? And then beats up her doppelganger, to which Maddy says like, enough is enough. Maddy is like, someone needs to put her down and she's gonna be the one to do it. And this is what we've all been waiting for. This is what we have all been waiting for. Maddy runs up there and the smack was too clean. What could I say? What could I say? We get to see the Maddy Cassie power couple scenes where they're fighting and going at it and Miss Cat is trying to hold Maddy back and really just why? Why at this point? We want to see it. We're all with BB because BB is like, yes, Maddy, beat her ass. And if for nothing else, like I support BB in this one instance because we all feel the same way. It's so cathartic to just see Maddy finally beat on Cassie because it's been a long time coming. It's been a real long time coming. Like there's just a certain feeling when you see Maddy throw Cassie's face into a wall. Like there's just something to it. There's just something to it. Something euphoric, you know? And there's a scene in the end where Maddy, Cassie, and Kat are all in the bathroom and they're just kind of like looking at their wounds. Like Cassie's mangled, like beat down, like hair a mess. And Maddy is just tending to a little wound on her foot that she probably got from running. But there's this really deep line where Maddy goes to Cassie like, this is only the beginning. And there's so many layers to that statement because Maddy is inferring that like this is Nate's cycle. Like she's referring to how Cassie and Nate are gonna be. Like Nate and Cassie are broken up now, but Nate is nowhere near out of Cassie's life. And coming from Maddy, who got out of this abusive relationship, she's telling Cassie like, I've told you all the things that Nate has done to me. And by this point, you know how this works. Like once you guys have broken up, that's not the last time. Like he will be back and he will be worse. And he will continue to be worse as long as you keep feeding into it and as long as you keep playing into it. And it seems like Cassie hasn't quite addressed her issues enough to actually want to back out. So as soon as Nate comes back being like, Cassie, I'm sorry, she's gonna be right back with him. And that's going to be very destructive and very dangerous. And honestly kind of worried for Cassie moving into season 3 because I really don't think that Maddy's gonna have her back. Like I feel like Maddy's washing her hands with Cassie, like she's done at this point because things have gotten too bad between the two of them because Cassie literally does not feel bad for what she's done to Maddy at this point. Like there is no guilt, there's no remorse. She just wants to feel like the good guy. And in that sense, like there's nothing left for them. There's nothing left for the two of them and that's really sad. Now let's get into Rue because Rue this episode I feel like has the most growth. I feel like this was really Rue's episode to come full circle, or at least somewhat full circle. Rue, I said this last episode, but Rue looks so healthy here. She looks so healthy. And just her reactions throughout the play when she's like hyping Lexi up after the whole Cassie drama goes down. She like starts the chant to hype Lexi up. Like this is just showing like I don't want to hear it. Like honestly at this point, I don't want to hear it. Like if y'all say that Rue has never done anything for Lexi, let that one example reign true where she is there for her girl. And we see Rue go on this whole apology tour, but starts off with Elliot giving a forgiveness tour where she forgives Elliot for setting her up because ultimately he kind of saved her life in a sense. And then we get this really questionable scene where Elliot sings for like 4 minutes straight. And honestly, I like the song. It was a good song. Like I was a fan of the song. Like he ate that up. He just ate that for a little bit too long. Like he was feasting. I don't really think there was any reason for that song to go on that long when there could have been other things addressed that weren't this episode. But I mean, like, cool song. We also get a quick brief moment of Rue and Jules sort of making amends, but not really. Jules apologizes to Rue and Rue just kisses her on the forehead and dips. And I feel like that's the end of like their romance because Rue says that like Jules was her first love and she wants to keep it that way. So it seems like the Rule ship has sailed in that sense, which honestly kind of good for them because they weren't the best for each other. I'm just kind of mad that the whole entirety of the season and the entirety of Elliot's character was just there to break them up. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like lazy writing in the sense, like if Sam wanted the two to break up by the end of the season, I feel like there was a better way to go about it than putting a man between it, but you know, What happened happened. What happened happened. And finally with Rue, we get to see Rexy scenes, like Rue and Lexi having a moment really coming together, where we get this really oddly placed scene, which I'll get into in a second, where Rue's complimenting Lexi on the play. They meet up and they're just really hashing it out with each other. Not in a bad way. Rue's just really explaining how Lexi is so important to her life and how Lexi's play really did give Rue the perspective that she needed to like see her life from like an outsider's perspective and just see like how hurt and how damaged she was from like the things that happened in her past and how she can work with that to sort of try and be a better person. And she has this moment where you really see like how she looks up to Lexi, because she's talking about like how she's so proud of Lexi for acknowledging her trauma and sort of like standing up to her trauma by putting on this play and like stepping into the spotlight for once. And Rue really wants to emulate that. Like she says she wants to be that, but she doesn't know how. And this scene is just so impactful because you can see Lexi's like hearing this, but she's not entirely believing it. But the whole scene between the two is just so impactful because these two have been ride or dies from the beginning. Like they have been best friends from the beginning. So having them come together like this after being apart for so long, so wholesome, so cute, like loved it. I really hope that their friendship does blossom in season 3. But I am just really confused at the timing and pacing of it because it seems as if that scene took place after the play because they're mentioning the play, but then it transitions and finishes as like the final scene of the play of them coming together and crying. So like how would that logistically work timeline wise? It's either if that conversation didn't happen and that was entirely fiction, like that was like the play telling that story of like a conversation that never happened, or there's just a giant plot hole in the timing because that just does not make sense how a scene from the future can be in the past in the play. But that's neither here nor there. Actually, that is here and there because this episode had tons and tons and tons of plot holes and things that weren't really addressed. But before we talk about that, let's talk about one of the final things this episode that went down that was really just shocking was the stuff between Cal and Nate. And we finally get a conclusion to their character arc and their whole dynamic. So basically, Nate, after being embarrassed and calling the play homophobic, he goes, grabs his gun, fully loads it up, and goes over to his dad's shop or like his dad's warehouse or whatever to confront him for the last and final time. And that scene is just so raw and so chilling because you get to see two very damaged men just conversating and really working out their issues, or not really working out their issues, but really just explaining where each of them are coming from. And we get to see Nate open up. And this is the first time I feel like we really get to see the inner workings of Nate's mind, because that's not something that he really expresses or talks about a whole lot, or really just verbalizes. It's just like really actions with Nate and manipulation. But we see him explain like how his nightmare that we saw last episode was a recurring nightmare that he's been having for years since he saw those tapes of his dad. And this is the first time he really talks about the impact that the tapes have on his psyche. And his dad is just there taking it and sort of being unfair to Nate in the sense that he's just like, yeah, that happened in the past, but I'm just trying to live my life now. Like it was just really vibes like, you should forgive me, or not even forgive me, like you should just kind of like move on because I'm gonna move on. Like I'm gonna live my life. I'm trying to live my life now. Like I know I made some mistakes, but like that was in the past. Like I'm trying to dip now. But Nate really isn't having it, and this ends up being a stick up, or not a stick up, a setup. That's the one. And Nate really just came by to say what he needed to say to get it off his chest, and officially like locks up his dad because he calls the cops on his dad. It's revealed that like Nate made a copy of all of the tapes beforehand that he had been just sitting on, which is kind of confusing as to how long he had those tapes, because last episode we see that his dad took them all with him before he left. So that means that he had the tapes before he did the stuff to Maddy, before his dad actually left. So this shows different levels of premeditated, unless of course like it wasn't that setup, and that's just another plot hole in this episode. Which also leads me to wonder if Nate had a copy of the tape from the beginning, because it indicated that the tape that probably got him set up is Jules's tape, and that's the reason why they're coming to arrest him. Why did he do all that stuff to Maddy? If he had like a copy of it already, why did he do that stuff to Maddy? Like did he do that solely to get good with Jules again? Because if so, very interesting and very curious as to how season 3 is going to go, because now officially like his dad was out of his life before, but not out of his mind. Now his dad is locked up behind bars. Again, someone said this in like the Euphoria after show I had on Discord, but like Nate has officially gotten rid of the monster under his bed, that being his father in his mind. Now what's stopping him? What's stopping him? He's sort of been outed by Lexi, so that's sort of out of the question. He now has his dad gone. Like what's to say that like he's not going to try and pursue Jules again, because obviously that's who he has been thinking about and caring for and doing all all of this for, which is very interesting. I want to see how season 3 plays out because I don't think we're anywhere near done with Nate. A funny thing to note though, it really does seem like the cops are really on Nate's side because Nate really does put someone in prison every single season. First it was Tyler, now it's his dad. Like, wow. And now that we've gotten to the part where Cal's in jail, I want to circle back to what I was saying about that special episode. I was joking in the pre-show live. I was joking that we could get a special episode of Fez and Cal in prison since they're now both there. But I don't know if I'm joking anymore. I feel like that'd be kind of funny. Because the earlier episode, I forget the one, but the one where Fez and Cal and ASHTRAY and Faye are all in the same room interacting was peak comedy, like the peak comedy of Euphoria. I kind of want to see that again with them just sort of hashing it out in prison in like a special episode. I just think that would be entertaining. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But I think that was all for this episode. Now I kind of want to talk about the season as a whole. Overall, I feel like season 2 was a solid season. It was very much different from season 1 in the sense that I feel like season 1 was more fantastical, more fantasy, more up in the air, just because I feel like the focus was more so on these really extravagant things and extravagant traumas happening to each of these people. Whereas season 2 is more of a realistic, down-to-earth, gritty, and dark alternative to Euphoria season 1. And I feel like I kind of like that and appreciate that about this season. We get to see multiple characters hit their absolute lowest, and we get to see some blossom and grow from it while some crumble under the pressure. And by this, I'm talking about the parallels between Cassie and Rue, because there is a parallel drawn between the two of them. Both of them have severe daddy issues, but like Cassie mentioned, the two of them are different. Like their situations are different. They handle them differently. Where Cassie goes like the seeking male validation as a result of her issues with her father and really just end up crumbling under that. Rue takes the drug route, but ultimately chooses to better herself, not for herself, just because, like she says at the end of this episode, that it's easier that way. And it's easier for her to try and feel like a good person that way. And at the end of the season, we see Cassie at a very low and Rue at the highest I feel like she's ever been in Euphoria. And we also get like a new Zendaya and Labyrinth song. We get the I'm Tired Zendaya's version at the end of this episode, so like that already boosts the season up multiple points because I love that song. But as good as this season is, it also did come with a lot of plots and a lot of issues. Namely one, there were many plot holes just riddled throughout it, just carried on from season 1 and moving forward into season 3. Like, what happened to McKay? Where's McKay? Where's Lori? What happened with Lori? Are we gonna get any follow-up from like the Tyler situation? Because that was illegal. We've heard nothing from that. Like, what happened to Jules' friends on the trip in season 1? Are we ever gonna see that again? Where is Kat's character? Because she was basically written off the script. And just so many more questions that we have unanswered. Oh, also, who is the third Jacob's son? Like, who is that? Like, literally so many questions. And in that, there's just a lack of character development for so many people, and a lot of characters regressed in a sense from where they were in season 1. Like I was saying, Kat's character took a nosedive this season and never recovered. For the first half, Kat was just trying to struggle to break up with her boyfriend, didn't even do that right, and then for the later half of the season was just standing behind Maddy for the rest of the time. And Jules' character this whole season was basically non-existent. Like, she literally was just there to have a relationship with Rue ruined, and then for the later half of the season got the Kat treatment and had basically no lines. Didn't say anything. So yeah, I'd say that those things were the primary issues for me. But overall, I'd say that the season was great. I really did enjoy watching it every single week with y'all and breaking it down with y'all. If I were to give it a rating, this season I give a solid 8.5 out of 10. Really did love this show, but the overarching issues with the show really did knock some points off, so it wasn't like a 10. But once again, thank you so much for sticking around and supporting these Euphoria videos. It has been an honor and a privilege and so much fun making them. Although Euphoria is ending, I do have a lot of new and exciting content coming up, so I hope you stick around and are looking forward to that. If you're looking for some Euphoria related content, I just uploaded a video talking about why we love to hate flawed characters and use Euphoria as a case example. And we'll be starting my new character analysis series starring one of the Euphoria characters. So let me know, who would you want me to break down and analyze first? And also, if you have any more content ideas that you'd love to see from me, let me know down in the comments below because I would love to hear from you. And once again, thank you so much for watching. If you are new, then hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like and follow me on my socials down here at imuRgency. Other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been imuRgency and I will see you in the next video. Thank you again so much for all the support in the Euphoria videos. It's the end of an era. Peace.